Hi, this is Kirk, the Bariatric Carnivore. Well, if you're like most people about this point, it's near the end of February. You forgot even what you made a resolution about in January. Now, if you're like most Americans, there's a really good chance, about 60% of us are obese, which means that we've got a medical condition where we are creating real health problems because of the amount of fat that we're carrying around. We're creating extra strain on our joints and on our hearts and our endocrine system and creating other problems. 90% of us are metabolically unhealthy, which creates other problems for our overall health. Now, I don't believe that 60% of Americans want to be obese. I don't believe 90% of America wants to be metabolically unhealthy. But we're not willing to make the change, or we're not even aware what the change is or even how to do it. And frankly, what you need to do, if you really want to get down to it, is just quit eating ultra-processed foods. If you quit eating the standard American diet, and frankly most Americans get the bulk of their calories from ultra-processed foods, which means they've been what we used to call junk food, but they're foods that have been processed to the point they're mixed in with seed oils, etc. But most people in this country are eating a kind of semi-vegetarian diet because we forget that sugar, wheat, corn are all plants, and that's what we're eating, and that's just not providing the necessary nutrition for us. Frankly, you can live for a while as a vegetarian and not have really serious health effects for a while, but you cannot get all the necessary nutrients you need to live on plants alone, and that is unfortunately the bulk of what we eat. You need meat. If you don't have meat, you're going to be suffering vitamin deficiencies at some point, and it's going to cause problems and serious health effects. It's just a biological reality. Whether they want to admit it or not, I understand people that are vegans for ethical reasons, but they are putting their own health at risk when they do it. That's why most people quit after being a vegetarian for about 3 years, because the nutrient deficiencies start to catch up with them and they have to give it up and they start to have meat, which is fine. If you want to put yourself at a health deficit, that's, you're an adult, you can do that, and that's fine with me. This just isn't the channel for you. So the question is, how do you get motivated? And then how do you optimize your diet for your own personal self? Well, motivation comes in a lot of different forms, but most people, the reason why they fail is they want to rely on willpower alone, and willpower is a finite resource. And if you haven't read the book Atomic Habits, you ought to. It's a really good explanation as to just the real limits to what your willpower can do for you, and it can help you. And willpower is basically a tool. For instance, this year I decided that I was going to get rid of Diet Mountain Dew. I was going to finally remove that habit from my life. And I utilized some of the resources that I'd found from the book Atomic Habits and realized that, I could gut it out for maybe a couple of weeks on getting rid of it. But, there's something about bubbly type stuff that I liked, and I needed to replace it. So I got a soda stream and started making bubbly water. So carbonated water is not harmful, and there's something about it that just kind of is satiating, and it was a good replacement habit to get, so I could gut out getting rid of the Diet Mountain Dew for a couple of weeks, but I also added in the bubbly water, so I got that as an extra relief too. So between the two of them, I was able to, I haven't had a Diet Mountain Dew now since the beginning of the year, and frankly, I don't miss it. And I've actually enjoyed not having to spend the extra money on it or giving PepsiCo any additional cash. So I'm happy with that. It doesn't affect me. And that's one way of creating a good positive change habit. The other way would be the gift of desperation. there's people that will talk about having a God moment. Well, that's a gift of desperation for most of us, where we have a serious health issue. We have a heart attack, a cancer scare. We're told that we're pre-type 2 diabetic, or that we are diabetic. Or in my case, when I found out from my eye doctor that I was going blind, and unless, and they could slow it down by putting needles in my eyes on a regular basis. And that was a real motivator for me to try to lose weight. And, I was able to use that motivation to start doing Weight Watchers, but trying to engage in a starvation form of dieting didn't work for me anymore, and it wasn't creating the change that it used to. My metabolism had changed as I'd gotten older. So, that's what kind of led me to bariatric surgery, and then eventually finding low carb and carnivore. And what I have found is that when you're properly nourishing your body, particularly with good quality fatty meats, the staple of my diet is beef, bacon, eggs, and butter. That's 90% or so of my calories that I get in every day. And that is what allows me to be satiated. One of the things, I've had a difficult time trying to quantify this, and it's not something that really shows up in scientific literature, but I think most of us intuitively know that it's true. That when your body needs something, it starts the craving cycle. It kind of lets you know, hunger is a legitimate signal that it's time to eat and that you need something. Well, the problem is when you're nourishing your body with chronic junk food, your body is telling you, it's not particularly smart in letting you know what you need. It just knows, hey, I'm hungry, I need something in here. What you need is probably protein and fat, but it doesn't tell you that. It doesn't send you a signal saying, hey, buddy, time to grab a ribeye. What it does is tells you instead, you just get this troubling feeling like you're hungry. And if you've only got junk food on hand and there's a bag of potato chips and you feel like you're hungry, you're going to start munching on that. And the problem is it doesn't get the satiety signal that, hey, I've got adequate protein, I've got my nourishment, I am good, because you're not feeding it nourishing stuff. And as a result, you gotta keep on munching. And there begins the cycle. When you're eating nutritionally deficient foods, such as, standard American diet, ultra processed food, your body's going to keep sending out hunger signals until you finally hit that point of satiety. And one of the cool things about eating a carnivore diet is it definitely is satiating. It's darn difficult for me to overeat on eggs and steak because I know when I'm full. You frankly, you do know when you are full when you're eating a real good, true diet. So it's self-regulating, and that's really one of the cool things about carnivore, and one of the reasons why I've been able to stick with this for now nearly 4 years, because it's simple. You get hungry and you eat real food. You eat beef, bacon, eggs, or butter. And frankly, when you've had enough, you quit eating, and then you don't eat again until you're hungry again. And then you have a steak. And it makes life pretty darn easy as far as being able to regulate what you're eating and how much. One of the problems that I had doing keto is I was trying to pay attention to all the macros and, getting enough of this stuff and that other thing. And frankly, with meat, because it's so rich in so many different phytonutrients and minerals, etc., that it doesn't create cravings that your body needs. And as a result, you feel satisfied and you don't have to keep changing. Now, all this I'm trying to say with one caveat in mind, and that is the optimization of fat and protein. And this is a kind of a tricky issue for a lot of folks because there's no correct answer. If you ask somebody, okay, who's on a carnivore diet, what percentage of your diet should be fat versus how much should be protein? And frankly, no one knows. I mean, basically, you have to, once you get clear of junk food and you start eating until you're satiated and you don't eat again until you're hungry, then you can start fine-tuning your diet a little bit more, and you may want to play around with that ratio of how much fat and how much protein you're getting. But this is a caveat, particularly to women. I see too many women that want to trim the fat off their steaks. And I think that, frankly, is a mistake, because there's a lot of energy that comes from it, but also a lot of nutrients that are inherent within the fat. Butter is not just pure fat. Butter is also vitamins like vitamin K2, which works with vitamin D, which helps build up better bones and teeth and the connective tissue in your body. It's vital. And one of the best sources for most people is they're going to get that from butter. So don't eliminate things. Don't eliminate the fat. If you're not losing weight, sometimes upping the amount of fat will actually help you lose more weight, and that seems really counterintuitive until you actually do it. And when you try it and you realize, wait a second, I up my fat, I'm losing weight. Why is this happening? It's not because you're pooping it out. It's because your body is hitting a satiety signal because it needed it. Frankly, it's an amazing process. But once you are free of the standard American diet, once you are really becoming truly in tune with what your body needs, you're going to be able to self-regulate. And then you can fine-tune it a little bit more. You may want to decide that you want to get a little bit more cut. You may want to up the amount of protein in your body. And sometimes you just want to have more energy, and more fat in your diet makes more sense. It depends on you, your goals, what aesthetic you're trying to achieve. I don't care. But, anywhere range from 50 to 90% of your dietary intake coming from the fat is perfectly healthy. And that seems to be the optimal range. Meat is, ribeyes are just fantastic food to me because they come perfectly proportioned, just the right amount of fat with protein. So don't trim off the fat don't fear it. Don't trim the fat off your meat. Eat it with the meat. It's the way nature designed it for a reason. That's what we were evolved to eat. So don't fear the fat. It will help you optimize your diet, help you feel more full. All these things all kind of work together. And if you are trying to get this message from big food, big pharma, big government, you're on your own. I mean, you are stuck. They ain't going to be telling you this type of stuff. You have to figure this stuff out for yourself, and to break yourself from the matrix and realize, that you're not going to be able to do this through willpower alone. You're going to have to create new habits, change your environment, realize that, willpower is there and it's useful for a couple of weeks to help get you started. But after that, you've got to have the habits ready to come in and optimize your health for the long run. It takes a little while, but boy, after a few months, you're going to realize in any good health change, when you make a lifestyle change, you've really got to give yourself a period of at least 2 to 3 months to see how that really does. When you initially switch to a low-carb diet and your body is changing things, you're going to have weird things happen. Like you're going to notice your hair is thinning, and you're going to assume that eating this way is causing your thinning hair. No, it's just a signal that your body is changing. And when that happens, there's going to be things, the body does not prioritize hair production, but in a few months, you're going to notice it's back to where it was. So always give yourself time to make those type of dietary changes and lifestyle changes, and try to do all these different changes one at a time just to see how it's working for you. And play around with the amount of fat that you're getting. Don't fear it. Do not eat boneless, skinless chicken breasts. The fat is there for a reason. The skin is there for a reason. So utilize all the meat that you can get your hands on. Keep working to get yourself stronger, because frankly, your family ain't looking after you. Health establishment ain't looking after you. Big food is trying to sell you ultra-processed human pet chow. on this fight for your health, you're all alone. But we can all be alone in this together. If you like this message, please hit the like and subscribe. I try to put out a couple of messages each week. I will talk to you again soon.